Alright, buddy, so now we're in week number 11, which is actually the last week of instruction. This is going to be the last week of instruction and review. The next week's the final exam. So now, we're going to start off talking about the role of the assistants now, because now people are starting to see themselves as becoming an assistant, and the role of the assistants and different ways to use the assistants. Walking around, supervising techniques during class, supervising, helping supervise sparring sessions and live rolling sessions, pumping up the students during hard conditioning, setting up equipment before and during class, like setting up hurdles or box jumps, or bringing weights out, making little stations, mopping up the mats before and after class, or whatever policy you have with the mop. We like to mop the classes at the end of every class, so that the next class coming in has a clean mat. So we have the assistants, quickly mop it up, just with a push mop. In classes with odd amount of students, like if you have like a 13-person class, you can use the assistant to even it up and be that person's drilling partner. So now everyone's in nice even amounts. Holding mitts for people that need the extra attention in class, or like if you have a new person that just joined the class, he can kind of work with them on the side a little bit and give them that special attention. That's really a good way to use the assistants. Giving like free little mini 10-minute private lessons to people after class that need it. So like say there's somebody that got caught in a guillotine like 10 times that class. At the end of the class, I go, hey, look, man, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna have Coach John here to go with you and show you some good ways to counter that guillotine so you don't get caught in it. And he'll go on the side and give him a little free mini 10-minute private lesson there. And that's a great way to use the assistants as well. And if there's any other ideas that you have for using the assistants and stuff, this is a great time to go ahead and put it out there and start pre-framing them the kind of jobs they're going to be doing, helping you out. Oh, another thing I like to pre-frame them with is that they can help corner and coach competitors for fights and stuff. So that way when we have a lot of amateur fights or nagas or grappling tournaments, they know that they're expected to come and help out, because if you have a big team, it can be very hard to do by yourself. Now, don't abuse your assistants. In other words, don't have them assisting 4 classes a day every day, because remember they're interning. Don't verbally abuse them or embarrass them or be disrespectful to them. Appreciate your assistants and give them plenty of recognition, because they deserve it. Okay, they really do deserve it. Now, never contradict another instructor or assistant instructor. So if someone says, oh, but Coach John told me to do it this way, I'll say, oh, okay, if Coach John told me, that's fine. Yeah, that's another way of doing it. Both ways are fine. Even if you think the other way is wrong. Later on, you go to Coach John and you talk to Coach John, you give him your opinion about the way he did the move and let him go rectify it. But don't ever contradict another instructor. It totally takes away their authority. Never do it under any circumstance. Now, that's a basic idea there about how the assistant's role is going to be like. Now, another thing I want to introduce is the concept of thinking outside the box as an instructor. Outside the box thinking. And here's some drills that I have put in the manual. Like one of them is like what I learned from Lloyd Irvin's gym. They do, it's really nice. Is that in between hard rounds of grappling, when you do the rest period, instead of just like being bent over or walking around, they get in front of their training partner they're grappling with, and they do like a stare down eye contact. And they sit there and just stare each other down for the whole minute, or for 30 seconds or 20 seconds, whatever time Master Lloyd's putting. And what this does is that recovery rate gets a lot faster, because when you're bent over like this, your body language is, your body's connected to your brain, so like when your body's tired, your brain's tired. But when you get up like that in a guy's face and you go like this, all of a sudden your energy kicks in faster, because it's hard to be lethargic when someone's making that eye contact. And 2, it builds confidence. If you're able to make eye contact with another person, especially your own training partner, it builds confidence. So it's a nice outside the box drill. One of my patented things I do is group running, where the whole class gets their shoes on. We go for a quick 1 mile run, so it takes about 8 to 9 minutes for the average class. So we jog as a team together, come back, and only 8-9 minutes extra, but it creates a real camaraderie, everyone running outside together. It's very outside the box. They're used to being only in the gym. And afterwards we bring it in outside. I give a nice like guru speech in the parking lot, in the dark. It's like once you do it, you understand what I mean. It's like out of a movie, like everyone's outside together, everyone on a knee in the concrete while I'm talking. Like I feel like Vince Lombardi out there. All right, so that's another way of doing that. Conditioning games, rather than having people just do push-ups, make little games out of it. Like I'll do 1 push-up, and then you do 2, then I do 3, then you do 4, then I do 5, and we see who quits first. These are like this kind of disguised repetition. Challenges. Like my wife does this all the time at the boot camp. She has like fitness scavenger hunts where people have to do a fitness thing to find a clue, and then that clue takes them to another thing where they do a fitness thing. Different ways of making challenges are really cool. She also does. I'm not the best at organizing challenges. I need to organize more challenges, but my wife's amazing at it. Like she has this calendar challenge where everyone has to get in shape, and whoever has the best transformation and different criteria ends up in the calendar. And in the calendar, it's like a great marketing tool that she mails out to people that are interested in the boot camp. She gives them to all the students, and the people who are on the calendar, they feel proud of themselves. It's just a nice, it's an overall really great challenge that she does. Another thing that my brother, Master David, does a lot, that I do as well, but he's more disciplined than I am with it, and I need to get back on it more, is that he'll print out the lesson plan for all the students. And at the end of class, he'll hand them out to everybody. So it's like, at the end of class, he goes, all right, here's the lesson plan, guys. So all the moves went over today, so like he doesn't give the lesson plan that says like 10 minutes of this, 20 minutes of that. He gives them like a summary of what they learned today. And wow, man, what a feeling of value when they go home with this thing, and it's just, it also shows organization. It shows the students like, look, I didn't just come here and BS and make up moves. I planned this in advance. And you'll notice planning your classes out in advance is huge. I plan the majority of my classes. I am guilty once in a while of coming to a class with no plan, but the majority of my classes, I'll say like 90% of my classes are planned the night before, and I have it all written out, so students will see me always going back to the paper, and I don't mind them seeing that. Like I let them see that I'm going back to my paper, because it's kind of like bragging, like, yeah, I planned this class out. It's not just me coming up here and doing whatever. So what my brother does, he takes it a step further though, and he has like a summary that he gives to everybody after the class. And I was doing that for a while, and I feel guilty. I've fallen behind. I'm gonna get back on it now that I've reminded myself with the course here. But that's another outside the box kind of thinking. Another outside the box thinking, this Coach Kevin likes to do a lot, is homework assignments. He likes to announce to the class, all right, everybody, I want everybody to email me 1 video of a move they saw on YouTube they think is cool, and that way he knows that they're at least trying to search. And it takes them 2 minutes to find a move and email them the link. It's just his way of introducing to them the concept of researching on their own. Other homework assignments that ones I use is I tell 2 people that they have to sign off for each other on having done a list of exercises they can choose from, like doing a 2-mile run, or doing 10 minutes on the stairs, or drilling their favorite takedown 50 times, and then they have to sign off for each other. It could easily lie, like I tell them, but then you know that you're lying, and you're only hurting yourself. So homework's a way of having the gym follow them in their house, and then they're being involved with the school outside of the school. And you don't want to make it a crazy thing where every day they're doing homework, but once in a while give them homework assignments. It's pretty cool, and they get involved in it. They like it. Webinars is a new thing I've been doing. If you guys want to, like I mentioned in another DVD, go to meeting.com or go to webinars.com. They're the same people. And organizing a webinar and promoting for all your students, and I use it for, I have a few things I've done with it. One I've done is a 2-part series called Black Belt Psychology, where one I talk about the psychology of training, and then the other one I talk about the psychology of combat, of sparring and combat. Another thing I've done is about goal setting. Like we have all kinds of webinars that are out there, discipline, things like that, to help them get involved. Another way of learning. Remember I told you some people learn better visually, some people learn better audio. Just another channel of learning, and they're doing it from the comfort of their own home. It's huge. I love the webinars, and I believe that myself and Master Lloyd are probably the only gym owners offering webinars for their students. So you want to jump on that. It's very cheap. It doesn't cost anything. It costs something, but it's cheap, and it's a great way to get your students involved. You can remember the guru status gets built tremendously with the webinars. Tremendously, it's huge guru time with the webinar. You get to have them in their house for as long as you want. My first webinar was an hour. The second one went 2.5 hours. I was just total guru mode, right? You've been watching all these DVDs, okay? I can hammer it down when it's time to sit there and talk and be a guru. Like I've gotten pretty good at it. So I got caught up in my conversation. I went 2.5 hours. I couldn't believe it afterwards. So then when I went into stats to see how many people dropped out of the webinar, man, it was like a 95% stick rate. Like everyone sat through 2.5 hours, which means that what? They liked it. They could have just logged off whenever they want. They don't even know that I can tell them they log in and log off. So I always get comments about my webinars, and people always want to know when the next one's coming up. And it's a great way to build your guru status and for your retention in your school. And what I like to do at the end of the webinars, I like to have a Q&A so people can start asking questions and I start answering them on the webinar. And you'd be surprised at the things that people will say in the Q&A that I never knew they would confide themselves with me. There's students I've seen all the time that I guess they got really touched by the webinar, and one of them go, I haven't been able to tap anyone in 4 months. I'm very unathletic and I know that, and my self-esteem is very low. What would you recommend for me to do, and how should I focus? And I told him, you should quit. No, I'm just kidding. I told him a story of myself. I said, look, I lost my first 11 matches in a row, and I won 1 match. I lost 7 more in a row. I won 1 in 18. I know exactly how you feel. I remember I used to be taken down by everyone in my wrestling room. I mean, what you got to focus on is yourself. Have you made improvements? Back when I was getting pinned every match, I would notice that it took longer and longer for me to get pinned. I focused on that, and my goal was to go the whole match without getting pinned. Then once I was able to do that, my goal was to try to get closer to make the gap between my losing points closer. So that's the same advice I give you, and I give this to them, and everyone's seeing my conversation, they're hearing this, so everyone else is learning from it. And man, the webinars are a really nice thing. I hope I've sold you an idea of doing the webinar, because it'll give you a tremendous edge over your competition. Now, recognition-wise, ways to think outside the box. Student of the day, get his picture printed out, put it in a frame, and put it like over the entrance of the hallway when they're coming in, and recognize student of the day. Reserving a parking spot for student of the day. I meant student of the day. I'm sorry, I meant student of the month when I was just talking. Like reserving a frame of student of the month. My apologies. Okay, so that's a thinking outside the box. When they walk into school, they see his picture of student of the month, you know. But as I was starting to touch up on just before I made that little tongue twister there, reserving a parking spot for student of the month. Okay, that's huge. You get the front parking spot. What you do is you get, I think they call it an A-frame sign. It's one of those signs, big signs that you just kind of open up and it stands by itself, like people put them on the sidewalks. You get that sign, you block the parking spot, and you put reserved for the student of the month, and then you can make it so that you can like have there's certain ones they have that have dry erase boards on them. You can write the name in, or you just put a paper there with the name and put a piece of tape and lock it in there, and you reserve its own parking spot. It's really cool. And what that does also is that one, the guy feels VIP that month, that he gets to park right in front of the school. But two, all the students every day see that sign and they want to become the next student of the month. And it's just more about culture. Another thing I do that's outside the box is I made I got tongue tied earlier, and I said that the student of the day is up on a wall on this picture, and I really meant student of the month. Well, we have something similar though for student of the day and move of the day. We have a big dry erase board, and you can buy like a little skinny black tape and create a grid, and then I put the time slots, so I get like the stickers with the numbers, so they don't get erased by accident, and I put all the time slots on there, and then I put a line down the side, and I put move of the day and student of the day and move of the day. So I'm sorry, student of the day and move of the day, and then I put the date in the corner. So after I announce the student of the day and the move of the day, I go to the board and I write it in, and that way like they see that like wrote their name on the wall, and people congratulate them, and then the next day I erase the board and I rewrite the new students. So like it's just another way of giving public praise, and it doesn't take. See, the thing, a lot of these things are little things, but when you add them all up, they become huge. You're doing a little retention thing here, a little retention thing there, and it all adds up. It becomes a huge retention monster, and it doesn't take much. You go, all right, guys, student of the day is so and so, and then you go to the board and you write the name down, and you go, and move of the day is so and so, and you write his name down, and it's all by the class. It takes 2 seconds. And it makes a huge difference. You see their name on the board, and for move of the day, when I write his name, I write the move he did. Like I'll be like Kimura Trap, for Johnny, and I put it up there. And that way everyone for the rest of the day gets to see that Johnny hit the Kimura trap. And you go, oh, Johnny hit the Kimura trap, cool, you know? So that's another tactic for thinking outside the box. I got this one from watching Black Belt Danny Ives. I was sitting watching one of his classes, and I was just watching, curious, just hanging out, watching the class, and he did this thing that I knew was intentional, and it was just so amazing. And he made it seem so casual. And there's this line that at the end of class, he left everybody in front of the class and said, "All right, everybody, line up, attention." And everyone lined up, and he goes, "Okay, guys, good job today. If anyone, remember, you guys did really good. We have a tournament this weekend, blah, blah, blah. All right, guys, remember, if you have any more questions about any of the techniques we went over today, I am available for private lessons. All right, we're in attention, bow, boom." He made it sound like it was nothing. And I knew the power of what he just did. So I went back home, and I got Coach Kevin. No, it was Coach Che. I got Coach Che, and I told him about this. And every class, he would say it. And after about a month and a half, he stopped saying it. And I said, "Why'd you stop?" He goes, "Master Margles, I have no more time. I'm so booked with private lessons right now, it's ridiculous." And he was booked to the ears in private lessons. So I gave the tip to Coach Kevin. He did it, same result. Like, it doesn't happen right away. It doesn't happen in the first week. Around the second to third week of saying that line, saying whatever, no emphasis, just kind of saying it. Like, "All right, guys, good class today. Remember, if you have any questions about techniques we went over today, I am available for private lessons. Attention, bow." 2-3 weeks in, the private lesson starts pouring in because people now know there's an outlet for that. People now subconsciously have been hit with it. It is a tremendous thing. And with private lessons, I go over it at another time, but with private lessons, students can make a lot of money. What I do for my guys, it's a perk. I only take 20%. It's like a house fee. I only take 20% what they make of the private lessons. And our blue belts charge for a 10-pack of private lessons $95 an hour. So I know a lot of people get shocked by that. That's why I brought it up. Most instructors charge much less and they're higher belt rank. My blue belts, for a minimum of 10 private lessons will charge $95 an hour. If you're only doing one private lesson, I believe they charge $125 an hour. And if you do 5, it's $115, and if you do 10, it's $95 an hour. And 20% goes to the house, they keep the rest. The 20% is just out of courtesy, respect. It's not big money or anything like that, but just so they keep respectful. And my head instructors, the black belt instructors, they don't pay any percentage. It's a perk of being a black belt. The rules of the private lessons is I make sure that they can charge whatever they want above the minimum. So if there's an instructor that feels he's worth $150, he can charge that. He just can't charge less than whatever the agreed price is amongst all the instructors. So we have meetings, we discuss what price we all agree with, and that way no one can undercut nobody. So no one can go, "Oh, what, Coach Che charged you 95? Yo, I'll do it for 80. Like, we don't allow that because it creates an unfriendly atmosphere and it drives the prices down, and we just don't allow it. So that's a little bit about private lessons. There's also the concept of cashing out in private lessons. We have Coach Che just got 90 private lessons up front. So you do the math. He charged $95 for 80 private lessons. It's somewhere around $8,000 in that neighborhood up front. Okay, lots of crazy things that we've done with private lessons. So you can start thinking outside the box as well in reference to private lessons. And there's lots of ways to incorporate that into your normal training, your normal teaching regimens. So now that this is the final material, and if you have any other outside the box things that you'd like to add, now's the time that you put it into this week. So this week ends quickly, and now you spend the second half of the class going over review. So what you're going to review, remember, this is not the object behind this class is to produce instructors. So you want them to pass this test. You don't want to make this test some kind of stupid hard test or it's be tricky and stuff. I mean, I'm going to include a test in here, obviously, and the test is inside the manual, but you don't want this to be like a challenge, like, let's see if they can pass this test with an A. I'm going to make this test. In the review, I basically give away a lot of the answers. I get the test out and I start reading different stuff and I make sure that they're going to pass this test. So I don't make it retarded easy where I gave out all the every single answer, but I give up a pretty powerful review, and I let them ask questions. I give up tips. I say, okay guys, some things you might want to know for the test, wink wink, and I'll give them like the challenging questions there, let them know what they need to know, and take as many questions as they want. At this point, let the conversation ride. If people want to keep talking, they keep talking. Then I let them know what to expect next week, and I tell them about the test and the way it's going to be ran, and no surprises, and that's it. There's nothing else to it. At this point, you've completed the course. Okay, so great job. You've as an instructor now, having completed teaching all this, I'm sure there's a lot of perspective you've gained from it.